Zach. You can share it now. You can share it now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Wait, if I share it, will it continue the live stream?
Yeah, anyone.
You guys can all share the live stream right now.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it's Amy. Sounds good. Hey, Ella.
Watch your God show up. Our faculty member said, yeah, it's great that y'all are doing this.
The last I saw her, she was talking to the doctor.
Yeah, I think I was waiting until. Like I told my mom. Even my mom, she would hang up on her. She would be like, "Oh, this is." Sorry, I didn't do it. I promise. What do you mean? Also, I do with the money I've given them. I've made this choice already.
Yeah, and I shared it.
It's the live feed of Hi.
Thank you for communicating.
Yeah.
Where they're literally looking at like there are mirror the brain you like feel that and like most people they feel they were following this one night and she can't eat she sees someone eat she will feel it. Yeah, it's really heavy like that. So she
There's gonna, on the news tonight, King 5 News at 4 o'clock, there's gonna be updates from Evergreen students about what's going on in here, if y'all wanna watch the news. I know Jamil was one of the courses that we spoke to, their dental practitioner from the yeah.
How she was, and it was with
Can we aux and play music or something?
Do you have some jams? Do you want like chill jams or hypey jams?
Like we can't connect it to the speakers because it's all locked up and then we can get it eject keys.
Very echoey enough in here, probably.
Yeah, so I guess someone plays from their
Does
phone.
anyone have a cup? I've never a cup. I have a bowl.
A cup.
There's a cup on the floor.
Bobby, can I use your sip cup?
I don't know if Bobby can do it.
Do people want like chill or hypey? I mean, attention to
You could put Kendrick, J. Cole.
This is a good ass bowl too.
Oh yeah, I love that. It gets super fucking hot. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hop on it. Like long term? I like your question because it actually makes me answer it. Because I find
I have some feelings about that.
my mom. So there is that.
It's like I love
There's going to be going back to that.
my grandma's boyfriend. It's on that 80 plus front, but it doesn't stop at 80. You can find love at 83.
So I'm just gonna go like I can tell myself this soul search, and like I don't have any commitment, so to speak. So it's like really a moment.
It's chill. It's like
Yeah, but ready.
I want to like take a deep breath and investigate.
So we can.
I cried. No, I like knew it existed, but I completely forgot about it, and I realized that I was like,
The thing that happened here.
happy to cry, and then I got my kid over and I was like, that's why I don't know.
And like, I've got a bunch of statements.
That's actually good.
Yeah, because there were people that
Yeah.
well, yeah, but if that's them right now, if that's them.
We went around to the swans and to the greenery and to the forest edit.
See, when I was doing it, I was trying to use my like chest voice that we learned about using, and not that like trying to like that we learned in the like. It also just sound more like a. The hair was more than like the no more violence. I mean, you know.
Okay, I used to be able to like go to the army. And then I was like,
I know people. I'll fight his ass. Eat my nuts. Yeah, I like go.
Oh yeah, for sure.
you know what? Do you want water? Do you mind? I'm not sick. I can social justice.
My throat hurts from yelling.
You can share it. You can share it now. I made it public, so it's not.
Sure, what?
The live stream.
Okay.
Hey, how was it? It was really good. Is there something? Is it filming? Yeah. Okay.
Just make sure you have water, you have eaten something before the meeting starts. So you know how long it's happening. Also eat, because I don't want people just leaving and like, yes, leaving, but like also like as many white bodies you can have in this space to save your photos. No, is it like we know what that was for? No, it was just outside research. Oh, something hot. Hold on, I have some white notes to have money. I literally all I have to do is like we need water in this space and there's people who will bring water.
Can we get water? Like, where can we get it? On campus?
We can
Bring it from there's no Einstein's will let people fill bottles, but I don't know if they'll let people fill full like big ass jugs. There's no water fountains in the center building. Is there anybody that sells like water bottles? There's a water bottle for campus.
the eggplant will help. If somebody can go to the eggplant and be like, hey, this meeting is happening or we need water for these bodies,
Maybe someone that didn't just march.
yeah, someone that's gonna do a lot of marching.
Yeah.
But make sure you come before and like
You guys can help.
Yeah, water.
But also health services had water outside. They had water ready. Because I thought health was ready to go.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about water. Yeah, it's okay.
Are you doing it?
We need like 4 or 5 people.
yeah, but make sure you don't go an hour before it's like, and if not, they're gonna do water. They're gonna ask you.
You guys need more.
They're gonna ask you for
protest control, students unseen.
We're the ones doing it!
Yeah, exactly. So who are the protesters? Surely not the students.
Brett Weinstein.
Brett's at the Capitol right now.
Yeah, he's at governor in.
Unsafe
Did you watch the email he sent out? Like, how can students like pay homage, feel safe on campus? I'm like, oh, pay homage, the one that started all this shit.
And for him for saying like I am not racist, like any white person that's saying I'm not racist, that's when you
Every white person is still racist.
especially when they're defending themselves. Not white person like that.
Sorry, you're a little one.
They're not fearing for your life.
No matter what, everyone's
I hate when people say I'm not racist. If you are, you're like, you can't say you're not racist. When you find If y'all are in here, if you could post it on social media, this is happening to get more people who haven't done it already.
people who are in this class supporting it.
There was only a few of us. We were just getting the word out. This is the most ridiculous thing.
Like, I'm checking the poll run on there now. Yeah, I'm searching on the
Discuss who's safe right now. Who's safe? I want to know who's
No, seriously. I'm not trying to video chat right now. I can't. Hello? Hey, I can't video chat right now. I'm in a call to action. You called me. 1 star.
This is 1107. Depending on how many people show up.
Oh, Jesus. But that also means that things will go.
Yeah, things are gonna go big.
But the only problem is when once they go big, it attracts more neo-Nazis in, and that's just that are not students, that are not related.
My name is R.T. Young. I teach law, constitutional law, business jurisprudence. And the appointment was for this year. Normally, I do that, but I'm really out of money.
So it's like, it's just weird, like, cut down.
So I just want to come over and tell you what I am. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Can you say that again? Yeah.
Over the summer, covered the big problems, like, pay up and make, I don't know.
before are super soft spoken, would it be beneficial to get a microphone?
Yeah, because
Either that or I can walk up right up to it. I have a question for y'all. Just because this room is so large and we're expecting quite a few folks in here, would y'all like a microphone to speak into?
Our goal is to listen to what
Okay.
you want.
Okay, cool.
You know, that's what the goal of the board
Okay,
is. So by the way, I'm Kelly Brown. And yeah, that is the purpose of the review board is to hear the community and to really enlarge these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Okay, we just be trying to move this so people know it's in here instead of the classroom.
I'm all just that's where it all started.
It is.
Hey, just like yesterday, I have an estimate paper and I can open if anybody knows I Is anyone hungry? We have celery and carrots. As everyone use the bathroom, because we're going to be here for a while. Celery, carrots, and bathroom water.
Y'all, can we get a table to set this water on somewhere? Thanks. I feel like if it's more accessible, it'd be easier. Should we put it outside? Yeah. That's fine. We put that one back. Sorry. Oh, no, we got a table. We got a table. Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
We have to make sure we get this back to the next one.
Yeah, no, I.
Yeah, guys, you want to go as far down as possible so we can make it easiest for people to come in and sit down.
was just like,
Wait, do you want this one? I don't know if I want this one. Oh, okay.
so, but then I also was like, but I'm also not like saying told you because yeah, so like I was really trying to make sure that
See, I was like, this is so lucky.
Do you know if someone was sitting here? Actually, no, you can have this. That looks good.
So you want this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, no, I know. Right. Exactly. Like, I mean, it's that weird thing of like, you're here now, I'm saying they're kind of, but also they're the one that want to be
Oh, I think they took the water from. Oh, slick. Friends.
The chairs are for black and brown bodies. The chairs are for black and brown bodies. We can sit here or something else.
don't communicate. I'm dead. There's the sign right there. I feel like it should be put up there.
Let's put it on the board.
On the board.
Yeah.
Hydrated.
Yes.
You know what I should get?
Oh, you know what? Okay, hold up. Can you hold this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna run to my door.
Mic check! Okay, I just want to make it clear, this isn't a demonstration and y'all are here in a meeting to have your voices heard. Is that clear?
I have no idea, honestly. Probably just for posts, I guess.
One of the top launch organizers.
Maybe.
People are saying that like the swastika was done by somebody in our group to get people riled up. They're just
Whose Tupperware is this?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
They forgot. It's like they're sort of there, but they didn't get like no. Yeah, exactly.
Alright, so y'all got these handy dandy phones. I'm pretty sure y'all seen what's going on, right? So a lot of people don't understand why we demonstrate the way that we do, what we're demonstrating for, and anyone who is on the internet can go and look and see that there's a lot of people that are standing up with Brett. His class is right now at the governor's office, talking about white students don't feel safe on campus.
Of course we don't.
I'm serious. The news is in the middle of Red Square because this whole thing has been switched around to make it seem like we are the aggressors. And I told y'all that this could possibly happen. It's really Washington. Alright? No, I'm serious. We are viral. Everybody wants to know what's going on in Evergreen. Alright? So what is our mission? What are we doing this for?
That wasn't rhetorical.
Spreading the truth
What's the truth?
that this institution is.
Okay.
In what ways? I like tapping fingers, but I like answers to y'all. No, but for real, y'all say y'all stand with us. What do you stand for?
I really want to know.
Crazy shit going on.
White people aren't going to stand anymore for other white people's decency.
Working for the safety of on campus.
So y'all know that this isn't focused on individuals, right? Yes, what happened to our Moses is fucked up. What happened to Rico is fucked up. But this is bigger than 4 students. This is big going on. Y'all need to understand that. And yes, we are gonna support the individuals, but we are also progressing to make the future for Black students, for Latinx students, for queer and trans students better in the future. This is about institutional change. We gotta stop focusing on individuals. Yes, Bart Weinstein is fucked up. There are other racist faculty, but we gotta work around that shit too. So I need y'all to really, really think about not who are you against, but what are you for?
We got another question.
That was a statement. Oh, me too. But greatest.
Also, I think it's very important that I point to you, community love does not mean shut the fuck up so I can talk. So whoever's been trying to co-opt that, please stop. That is not what that's about. Community love means we need to center each other. At some point in time, it's all fine and dandy. I'm all for telling all of America, the whole world, that everyone is racist. But that's not going to change the fact that we still go to this institution. Blackness, it doesn't matter if the whole world knows it because they don't come here. They can't even find this place on Google Maps because it's covered in trees.
Come on in.
So like, I really want to keep us centered on community love because that's really what it's about. It's about us. Because the last thing we want is for our institution to get shut down completely. We want our institution to live up to what they said that they're supposed to do because we care. Right? That's the message that we're here for, am I right? So then share that message. Not shut our school down. No, we want to come here. Hold on, wait, don't be, wait a minute, let me say something. Right? That's what we're going to be here. So like, I know there's a lot of eyes on us. A lot. Remember I told you about that D in front of Evergreen? That means you're the best, right? So whatever you do, you still got that D there. Remember that. That means you're elitist. We're the best. We're the best of everything that we do. So if you're the best racist, you're the... Come on now. You see what I'm saying? So like, we got to be the best at community love. The best. There's only 3,902, whatever of us, that there is. And if we don't know how to protect and love and care for each other and heal each other, people are going to rip and tear us apart. Because we put eyes on us before we started to heal us. And now we've got no choice. We either got to stand together or be pulled apart. Because we literally have national eyes on of us. And so what does that mean? What do y'all want to see? A change?
A change.
Involved in every local ministry.
Okay.
Voluntary, people who want to be there, not people that have to be there.
Yes. A long-lasting support system for people of color.
Campus safe for people of color.
Honestly, free housing and tuition.
I want to see us gather weekly, monthly, not just when shit goes down, not because shit goes down, but gather all the
You know what I want to see? I want to see you guys speak to more people when we're not in here, when we're not in the circle. Because when I'm outside, I don't see half of you guys speak to me. Some of you guys do, but not half. But let's spread that around the whole campus. Speak to everyone. It don't matter if you're having a bad day. Hey, how you doing this morning? That's great.
Yeah.
And accountability shows up first when you look at the person who you see in the mirror. I mean, if I don't even say hi to me in the morning, why the hell would I want to say hi to the next person? You know what I'm saying? Anybody who's ever walked past me, you know, I speak to everybody I see, strangers and all.
Yep.
Because I believe in that. You don't know what people run through. Some people walk, we look in the trees, depression is real.
You guys, you can come in. Please.
So we gotta start spreading something. Because the hatred and the lies, we already know how to spread that. We're up to that. But love is something powerful. They do something to nations, to the world. Don't you all know about that? That's what I really do mean community love, and I mean that from all my ancestors and from all parts of my body. That's what it's about. It's not about just taking over a building and making people sign documents. Because long after George is gone, and long after we're gone, do we want to come back and have emails from people who are doing the same thing? Like, we want something that's going to heal people in a way where Evergreen is a place where you can come, get your education, feel good, and go and do something in the world. Yeah. Not just tell America how racist our school is. Right. You know what I'm saying? Every school is almost racist. Come on now. It's not it. So, I don't want to take up too much time.
No, you're not taking up too much time because, see, I got the secretary right.
Oh, okay.
I'm just listening.
Yeah.
I just want to say something quick. As we move forward and as we move with love, I just encourage all of us to keep each other together. Yesterday, we saw things go all over the place because they tried to scare us. And there were rumors that police was coming, this is happening, right? So as we move forward, I just encourage all of us to stay together. And things are going to get hard, right? But we got to stay together. we come all this way, right? And it wasn't 2 weeks ago that this shit started, right? It's been years and years and years, right? So let's keep it going. Let's stay together. And community love.
Community love.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I'm Kelly Brown, and I am the chair of the Police Services Community Review Board. And
be a forum for communication between the community and police services. Our role is to facilitate communication, and our role is also to review any complaints that anyone in the community has about police services. Someone earlier asked if it would be normal that the police would not be at the review board meeting, and that is a resounding yes. This is a board that reviews what's happening with them, and then is a communication device between the community and police services. So we give the board feedback, and when they do come to a meeting, the reason they're there is to either hear feedback or to ask us questions that we might be able to provide them from what community members are saying. So today, we are here, and we really want to hear you. This is your campus. This is our campus. Your words are really important to us. We want to know what things we should be looking into, and what things are, what things you'd like to see a board do. Our bylaws are online, and actually in September, the board is reviewing those bylaws to see if, are they up to this century? The bylaws have been there since before I was here. I've been here 10 years. And so they've been there a very long time. And so one of the things we had decided in our last meeting is that we wanted to update the bylaws. So feel free to check them out online, and also feel free to send me emails with feedback about things that you might suggest for the bylaws, because we will definitely consider them and try to craft something that works for this century. And that's really all I have to say. The things that we've been working on as a board this year have really been trying to figure out what kinds of things might be helpful in improving communication and relationships between police services and the community. And so we were starting with the idea that we needed feedback. Well, here you are. And I'd love to hear your feedback, and we'll open the floor to anyone who'd like to.
So this isn't so much feedback, so much as I'm just gonna let you know that we appreciate your help, but something that we're gonna do is no more cops in our communities. That's all.
Specific incidents and ask for you to review it? How often do you all meet? What's the process of the review? What happens after a decision is made? Will we all be like, what is this? What are we doing? I just don't get it. I just seen the title.
Right. So, yes, this is, I will admit that as a board, we really hadn't anticipated having this big crowd for one of our meetings, but the purpose of the meeting is to hear if there are community complaints and to kind of plan things to help move things move more smoothly. We meet once a month, so it's not something we don't meet frequently. We meet once a month. This was actually supposed to be our last meeting of the year, but we'll clearly take whatever feedback you have and try to have at least one more meeting this year. Once we receive information, there hasn't actually, at least in my knowledge, no one has come to the review board with a complaint, and so this is actually our first time knowing that perhaps people might want to come to the review board with a complaint.
In the past, right. In the past, most of the complaints have been, the first step for resolving a complaint is to go directly to someone in police services, and then if that is not working, then we are the next step. And in the past, that has been what has happened, and I'm taking it that that's not going to be the process this time.
Can I also, I want to address the question that you asked. When you go to the website, there on that page, there are contained the roles. There are 2 roles of this, 2 duties, 2 things that this commission or whatever this is, I don't know, board, this board does. Someone another thing, it's going connection with my church. Okay, the first role is to enhance communications. So it's a means of transferring whatever it is you wish to say regarding the police services. It is expected that the review board will monitor the impact of police actions, inform the community regarding important police matters, and in general serve as a source of information between Evergreen community members and the police in accomplishing this work. The board could hold forums, provide online communication, and or distribute materials. So the forum is occurring today. The second role is to review complaints regarding the work of police services. The director of police services should be, but is not required to be, the first contact for complaints about interactions between police officers and community members. In cases where the complaint is not presented to or not resolved by the director, community members could file a written complaint with the chair of the Police Services Community Review Board, okay? This would be an alternative to forwarding the complaint directly to the Vice President for Student Affairs. That's the role of this committee. It's a limited role, but it has to do with the communications aspect. That's why when you say, this is what we need or this is what we want, we are taking notes and trying as best to keep up with the ideas that are being laid on the table here, so that we can review those, so that we can respond to you. And it's not like, oh, well, just talk and then we'll leave the meeting and then everybody goes in. No, we are going to respond. And you are going to go to the site and look and see what is here in this document, and you are going to communicate with us. You are going to write to us by email, it says in the document, to say what you want included here or struck here. So this is a way to begin to move forward, because as our host, the person who first spoke, said, she's concerned about doing something, moving the dial, moving it along, not just reiterating and telling the world we are this racist, and Lord knows, if you live in the United States of America, you got to know it's a racist society. So to keep saying it,
First of all, we're all your hosts here. We're all leaders here.
Oh, well, all y'all are the hosts.
We're all trying to
Why
make
not
sure
one of these folks? Oh.
she kicks ass.
Yes.
So, my question is, what power do you guys have to, like, say everybody in this room, which they will tell you, like, we don't want the cops to have guns at all. Like, forget rifles, like, no weapons. And then, like, forget weapons, we don't want the cops to even be here. They have no place. We can control our own community, I think. So my question is, like, what happens when you
Okay,
do
let me
like
just
that?
say this. Did you hear me read the roles? Did you hear me say that we can do anything except communicate what you want to the president, and then ultimately go to the board. Because we got police on this campus because the board approved it. Okay? The board is the representative arm of the state of Washington. This is a state institution. So there is process. Government is one layer after another layer after another layer. The ultimate place for you to go would be to the board. Then if you still got problems, go to the legislature. I mean, you know, that's the way it works. You need to take my constitutional law class. Okay? Thank you for asking me.
Okay, I just want to say this, since you have the authority to communicate our needs and maybe make them happen, then what would it look like? Is it possible a dissolution of the police and instead implementing a structure of community policing that we can have so we can maintain our own community and not having an outside force that always has aggressive presence on our campus?
Good question. To be honest with you, I don't know. We have a couple of faculty persons here. If you know the answer to this question, please help. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't know about the other board persons. I'm not going to say stuff to you that I don't know, okay? So that's just where it is. Doing the best I can. Okay? Yeah.
I wonder if y'all could give us an idea of what other complaints stand against the cops. What pressure is there against, in our favor, as people who want to get the cops disarmed and off campus? I know in the past they have been extremely, used excessive force against students who were having mental breakdowns. They have used excessive force against students. The incident that happened just the other week. What complaints stand against the cops or have stood against the cops that y'all can tell us about? What pressure is there already?
There have been no complaints sent to this board in this, from what I understood, from what I've understood, no complaints have been sent to this board in years. I think the last time there might have been a complaint to the board was back before I was hired. I might, with the whole court protest that many years ago. I think that's the last time there's been any time that someone's actually. Now that doesn't mean that. I want you to know that doesn't mean that no one has complained about the police, right? Because that's crazy talk. But no one has come to the board with a complaint, and that is probably because there are steps that people can do before going to the board, or maybe people have just thought nothing could happen and didn't know to come to the board. But we're here now.
Center Black Men and Women's Voices in space.
What was that?
Center Black Men and Women's Voices.
We're gonna center like black femme women voices, like let them be heard because they're silenced so often. So if you're white, it's not really time for you to speak right now.
So I think then people should just raise their hands.
Khadijah's got her hand raised. It's Khadijah's turn.
I kind of want to help answer that question because I was on the Green Up Student Union, I think 3 years ago, when we did file a complaint through this board about police surveillance, about police keeping private information about students, and then sharing that information to get students arrested on a larger level, which I think is the reference that you're making to the courts. And nothing was done about that either. So that's another, something else to throw into that.
I can't speak to what, I don't have that, I mean, I wasn't on the board at that time. This is my first year running the board. So all I know, historically, that's the one instance I know about, but I don't know about other things.
I guess I just mean to say, to add on to that, is that that conversation of police surveillance and private information being kept on students was a conversation that was had for years and years and did come through the board. And I'm just weary of communication being like the only avenue that we have, and then things become stalled and students graduate or summer happens and then no initiatives are taken.
I think, you see, what I'm trying to impress upon you is, I haven't heard from them in a month. I haven't heard from them in 3 months. Then you escalate and you go to the next level. You go to the next level. And maybe that's one of the things that you can discuss or add when you read this to say, there needs to be time. You know, like if you're in court and you have to file a document, and then someone has to respond, they have stipulated periods of time to respond. So it may very well be that with the aid of the college attorney, they should add something. That's a very good question, a good comment, because you can't just leave it lay out there. I just got on the board, okay? So I haven't been on the board. All I do is hear from students who have problems. I do what I can to help them resolve those. That's all I can do, or have been able to do. But I'm telling you, there is a progressive process that should be in place, because this is a state agency. And one of the things that I do note is missing on this document is what's the response time? You have 30 days to reply. If you haven't replied within 30 days, then you escalate it to the next level. And then you keep doing that until whatever your issue or concern is resolved. And I know I'm yelling at you, but I'm trying to make sure that everybody can hear. And so please don't take it as an insult. It's like I'm trying to help you here. So, so you see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
One of the things they can do is to revise this thing so that they put time periods on it. 30 days, 60 days, and you keep going until you get to the Board of Trustees. Now you're at a level where you can begin to talk to the legislators. You can move from there. I mean, there's so much, or file a lawsuit, or go directly to court. But you will have gone through this administrative process. It's administrative law that you're in right now, in terms of doing this kind of step it up complaint work. I'll say work. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. Did I make sense? Yeah.
So maybe at the police station, you can have something openly posted at all times, so we know exactly what to do when we feel like you did something wrong to us, or because one of my friends, she's not even a student here, but she comes on campus a lot, and she was violently handled, and like her face got hurt and dragged. So I never heard that anything came out of that. So if we know, we can go to the police and then see a paper, and that tells us exactly how we can get a response. That would be good, that it's there at all times.
Thank you. Yes, please.
There needs to be a way of holding police accountable for excessive force without having to go through court systems. When people just know that they've been people who don't have resources to go through the court system are brutalized by the police. There needs to be some accountability for those situations.
I didn't tell you to go to court. I told you when all your remedies had been exhausted, you may consider wanting to go to court. That's what I said. And if you've gone to this review board and filed a complaint, and it's gone then to the next level within the college, and nothing still has been done, and it's gone to the next, I talked about the administrative process that one goes through when filing a complaint with any governmental entity. This is the government. The taxpayers help to pay for the school. So I did not tell you to go to court, but that is a remedy if you choose to do that. All I'm saying is these are the barriers and remedies. There's no guarantee at any level what is going to occur. If your issue is resolved, after it has been transferred over to or given to the review board, and it has gone to the chief or gone to whomever. I don't know the process myself, I'll be honest with you. But after it has gone through that administrative process that's articulated in this paper, then that is a right that you have. It is not what I'm recommending that you do. I'm simply saying you have rights as citizens here. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not telling you anybody here what to do. I'm simply saying this is what is available, and this is how an agency, this college is an agency of the state government, operates. That's all I'm saying.
Artie, do
Yes.
the students have an option to go down to the Olympia Police Department and file a formal complaint per officer? Since they are essentially Olympia PD, they're just a sanctioned group assigned to the college with promote taxes. So
That isn't true. Our police services are not connected with OPD at all. They're not a part of OPD. They are a separate entity all by itself. And this is why we would like your feedback, because our police services really are our police services. And so I hear that we don't want any cops on campus. I hear, the request for no guns and all of those things. But I want you to be aware that the police services that is on this campus is really just for this campus, which means we have a lot of say in how we want them to operate. They are not with OPD or Thurston County Sheriff's or any of that. So those people that are right there in that little building to the side, that's it. And they're here, they're supposed to serve us in the ways that we might want them to serve. And our board, one of the goals is to hear what ways do we want police services to serve us? What things do we need them to do, not do? Do we want them here? We don't want them here. But they're not connected with OPD. So if you had a complaint, it would go to our chief, and then all of the things that, you could go to OPD and say, I was assaulted, and I'm not sure what would happen, because they're not in their chain of command. But the things that Artie was saying in terms of the steps for complaints, that would apply more and be more likely to get a result.
I just wanted to ask, when you said the board got no complaints, do you mean no complaints at all about anything, or just no complaints about the police?
No complaints have been filed this year. And I don't know if the board was active last year. So.
It was said that we could go to the chief with our initial complaint, or we could go directly to you. I'm wondering if there's any system or record keeping that we can know about which complaints have been filed with the chief so far, if that's like a public record.
It's a public question. Speak to my resident legal person.
No, I'm not.
I don't know.
No, I am not. I am not. I teach constitutional law, I'm not representing anybody.
I didn't use that argument. So, yeah, I'm sure it's public record and you could request it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
I guess I'm one, like, if the complaint is that the police exists here, like, that doesn't really make sense to me to go through, like, a board, like, reform process, if the reform is needed, but they aren't here anymore at all. I guess I'm wondering if that is, like, you think that as a, like, a group, you can go in that process, or if
and we will review it and then present it to the next level. And if the board can come up with a resolution that feels good to students, then that will be great. And if we can't, then the expectation would be that you go to the next level.
Can I ask some clarifying questions about this process of going to the next level? So if you're to receive a complaint, who do you go to directly? Do you go to Wendy or Andrea or George?
It would depend on the complaint, you know, and what it was about. If it was one of the officers treated someone poorly or assaulted someone, etc., then we would go to the chief. And if the chief was not able to resolve that, we would then go to to George, I suppose.
No, you would go to the vice president.
Then we go to the vice president of student affairs. And then after that, it goes so on from there.
Go to George and
You
then
can also
the
go
board.
directly to Susan Harris.
After you go to George, then you would go to the board of trustees.
Yes.
If I may, I would like to address the room. We know that Andrea is racist. We know that Wendy is racist. We know that George is racist. It seems redundant to me to try to file this system when it's just going to go to the very people that are like fighting against this movement and like perpetuating anti-blackness in the administration. Like, is there a way that we can go directly to the board of trustees to file a complaint through y'all?
You could likely do it, but I don't know if that would be the best way to approach the board. Because the board may view that as just skipping over. And because there are persons in place to handle matters. Now, I don't think just, there is law and there is common sense, okay? So you gotta use your common sense a little bit here. The board sits at the top, and you've gone over the person they've approved to be the president, the person they've approved to be the vice president, and come directly to them. Your best bet is to follow the chain and keep going, because you will have acknowledged those positions that are there to handle your matter, whatever that matter is. You can go directly to the board. Students have done that, but that is, as a tactical approach to me, is somewhat iffy. That's the best I can say on that.
I was just curious, how much of the funding for police comes from students? So how is the police funded?
I know that information was given, but I don't know. I don't think it comes from students, but I'm not sure. It probably comes from I think it probably comes from the state.
It does. It comes from Washington State specifically.
Yeah.
For our safety. So I have a question that actually can be specifically for anyone on the board or any staff that can hear this. In the last 20, 30, 40 years, or however long you've been here, specifically, you already, has there been a time that you've had to call the police for help? Or anybody in the church?
Yes, I did.
And what was
Because a student was being really aggressive, and so I just needed that student to stop being aggressive and for the police to walk me to my car because it was really close to midnight.
And they did that?
Yeah, they even let me sit in their car and drove me to my car because it was really far away. And they did that twice.
And you said that you was home?
You need to understand, I am the lead psychologist in student wellness services. So I have had students, and interestingly, I have had students who have come in and been distressed and needed to go to the hospital and requested that police services take them because it felt safer. And I've also had students come in and need to go to the hospital and prefer an ambulance, right? So it's varied more, but usually when I call them, they come and they help out in whatever way. They'll either call the ambulance for us and get them there, or they will, it actually, this year has been the best in that they will actually take a student. In the past, there would be this, well, we don't have enough staff, and so then we would be stuck trying to figure out if a student's friend can take them, or all of those things, and when we're worried about a student's safety, and they don't have, and it was really complicated. It's been actually easier this year in terms of having that kind of assistance when we've needed it.
Aren't both of these situations that we could, or like services we could provide without police and without guns?
I would say yes and no. Definitely without guns. But if we're talking about dealing with issues around what I'm speaking of, when I have students who are in crisis and need to go to the emergency room and need to be seen by someone because perhaps they're psychotic or perhaps they've wanted to commit suicide. When that happens, it is there are certain people who are allowed to ensure that someone makes it to the emergency room and can make sure that that person is actually seen. If a friend drops a person off in the emergency room and then this person just gets up and wanders away, then we don't know that they actually got the service that we were sending them for. I can't think of a time that I've sent someone to the hospital personally, involuntarily. And so, I mean, that happens in the world, right? But that's not, for the most part, when people come into the counseling center or to student wellness services and they're wanting a service, they're wanting service. They're not, not wanting service. So, yeah, and it's an odd thing, especially in our state. We have we're considered a mental health desert zone in terms of number of providers and ways of being seen. St. Pete's had 28 people in the emergency room for mental health issues on Monday or Sunday, which there's only one person there to see those people at a time, all right? So this is our emergency services. And I can tell you that if the student is brought by any police officer, they are put in a room sooner than if they just wander in and they're waiting to go through those 28 people.
What if it was a paramedic?
The ambulance, yes, they go through. But that's a $500 cost. So,
Right, but if Evergreen employs paramedics to assist with that instead of...
That's a... Right,
In the back, yeah. You have right here, you have a question.
So what you're saying is that when someone's having a mental health crisis, what we need is a responsible friend instead of a cop.
Right?
Yeah. Also, y'all, why are you staying quiet? Tell them what kind of police you want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see a student collective that's paid to research alternatives to policing and to implement them.
Instances when police have been called and when services were rendered, so that we can build up a really realistic idea of what kind of services they are nominally providing at this point, so that we can start building a very realistic set of expectations for how we would go about providing alternatives.
I would also like to point out that there already have been students on campusizing, organizing to protect each other, and to provide the services that police provide
to us, like without the involvement of the administration, and like, I don't know, it feels safer to people, it's more community oriented, like it's people you trust coming into your space and taking care of you versus strangers armed with fucking guns. Like, and I also have known people personally that have been in mental health crises on campus, and the police have come into the room and pointed guns on them.
Yeah.
Which, you know, a community wouldn't do that to a person, but a cop would.
Somebody in the back that had her hand up, and I don't know who it was. Okay.
I just wanted, just on this note of like researching alternatives to police and like bringing up the, you know, some people don't have maybe a friend that can help them in that moment, and I think there are alternatives, like for example, Olympia has a phone number you can call if someone is having a mental health crisis that is professionally trained to de-escalate and to support that person, and we should definitely have that on campus.
My question is, like within that, if we're talking about the amount of things that the police show up to, which appear to be mental health crises and then just abuse on campus, but is there a way for us to put more funding into, like possibly having a psychiatrist that our students can go to instead of having to wait 4.5 months to get and see a psychiatrist here, because like that's a long time.
In the way back.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was like back in the 90s, we had voted on whether or not the police should have guns in the first place, and staff and students both voted against it, but it was vetoed by president or vice president. And so if they're trying to advocate for getting rifles now, then does it matter if we don't want them to have rifles? Because I don't want them to have rifles. I don't think that anybody here wants police to have rifles.
I may be wrong on this, and if there's someone here who knows, but I've been I believe it was the Board of Trustees that approved that. The president took it to the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees approved, first of all, police services, because in preparation for the meeting, like you know, prepare for your homework and what you have to do in class. Well, I called the archivist to get a history of what has gone on at this college. We at one time had no police on campus. Then police were brought on the campus and they were unarmed, okay? This was all approved by the Board of Trustees. Then the last layer of that was to arm the police. There was a lot of dissension around that on campus, and the Board of Trustees approved it. So you've got to understand, the Board of Trustees really represents the institution, okay, Evergreen. And the governor, of course, represents the state. And so if you're looking at people in position, it's the board who approved having police on the campus armed, okay? That's what I know.
I was asking Justin, so a lot of times on state ballots or municipal ballots in our cities, they'll have what's called advisory votes, which are usually pretty annoying because they don't actually count for a whole lot and you've done your whole ballot. But Justin was saying that he thinks that you can have advisory votes on your student government ballot. And so when you're trying to storytell up the chain through bureaucracy, that could be an interesting thing if you have that election coming up in the fall to have an advisory vote. So you can, I don't know. Yeah, what about my
I'm the elections commissioner right now for the Evergreen State College. Hi, my name is Beth. As far as getting that advisory vote on there, I would love to hear what students are looking for as far as the election system. I've been trying to get out as much as possible and get out to as many students as I can to hand out applications and to hear back on the election system. I also have a suggestions box. So if you guys have any suggestions or things you guys want to hear about or things you guys want to see on the ballot as far as initiatives and stuff like that, would love to hear about it. Would love that.
This is just a concern that I have. I've noticed on campus there is a 24-hour food bank, but it is located within the police services area. And to me, that makes it exceedingly inaccessible for most people to go to. I know I even feel very uncomfortable going there and getting food. And it's, if we have resources like that, I do not think they should be put, and it's like the health services are also put directly across the street from police services. Yep. And having that makes them very inaccessible for certain people, and it makes them scary to go to. And I don't want to be known as the person to police services that's always at the food bank or always going into the health services. That's very scary, and I think those services should be moved to other places, to more welcoming spots.
We agree. And I know in the past there was a vote to build a standalone student wellness services, which would move us. And that did not actually pass for the students. And so but it is still something that we're thinking about and hoping that the legislator will do something about, because it's true. It's not the ideal space.
Some of these are even changes that can happen like today. Like we can move the 24th. If another club is willing to like open that up, we can move that like now. And I think that's kind of the steps that we should start beginning to take.
You spoke to not necessarily necessity, but how they helped in the past with student wellness centers. And to that point, I don't see why students of color are not the ones who are going to be getting that support, because those are the ones who are afraid to go to student wellness centers because it's right next to police services. So these things that the police are doing, I just don't see how they're actually helping the students that need it most.
I don't want to, our demographics at Student Wellness Services are representative of the community. And I know that Student Wellness Services, one of our biggest goals actually, is to be doing more outreach and getting out of the office more than what we've been. We tend to be in the office dealing with crisis so much that we don't get out in the ways that we'd like to, so that's one of the things we're focusing on. But in terms of who is actually using the services, we see a broad range of people. And I acknowledge that there are certain groups that don't make it in, but I wouldn't say it's just students of color.
Why wouldn't you offer the students here that have been on this campus that have been struggling through things for the whole week that we've been excused from doing homework from, but we're not offering them services such as, like, hey, like, students who have felt hurt or have been like triggered or feel traumatized by this, why won't you come in and we'll sit with you and we'll have therapists on staff of color to come talk to you so you feel comfortable and you feel safe. Like, these things aren't happening. You say you want to reach out, but you had the opportunity this week to do it and you didn't do it.
As I said, that's one of our goals, and it's a bit of a difficult goal for us to meet due to actually the volume of students we see. We have, my schedule is actually booked out all the way to the end of the year with students that I'm seeing. And then otherwise we have drop-in clinic in which we're seeing students. And so actually one of the things that is happening in addition that we're hoping will help us get out more is this year we're hiring for next year 2 undergraduate mental health interns. And their role is to do more peer health and to help free up some time so that we can also get out more and that they can get out more, and also to give us a better student voice. So those are some of the things we're doing. But yes, I mean, we tend to show up when we're asked to be there, and we tend to not just drop into places, because strangely enough, when a therapist just shows up somewhere, people get kind of nervous, like maybe we're just analyzing you. So we tend to wait until we're invited to places, but our goal is to get out more.
Behind us. Yeah, yeah.
I have like a small concern with police services responding to mental health things. Like if I have a breakdown and police show up, that really heavily feels like criminalizing neurodivergency. And like I don't know if that's like that's not a health professional coming to help, that's just someone coming to detain. And secondly, like, I don't think that's like an appropriate way to respond to people who are not like currently functioning. Like, is there a way we can change that? Because like that legitimately doesn't feel safe for neurodivergent students.
As far as I know, police services are never the first person to show up for a student who's having crisis, but I'm not outside of the counseling center. So typically I know what should be happening is students would be talking to an RA or RD or to a friend if they live in the community, to a faculty member, to a staff person, and then the only time that police services should be getting involved would be if that student needed, wanted transport somewhere, or needed to, or if the staff there needed help assessing whether someone needed to go, for transport usually is when they show up.
Like for people who like were quote unquote psychotic, and like usually that's handled very poorly by like people in power.
For me, my main reason to have fear on campus is from white supremacist groups. And my fear is that when people from white supremacy groups come to campus, my fear is that police won't defend people of color and will be automatically on the side of people who are part of white hate groups. And yeah, that's, even if it's police, yeah, that's, so I don't know. That's why I don't think we should have police, that we should have community police. I know. Thank you. I also wonder, so this is the board for us to be, because many people have concerns about specific police members, so when is the time, like, maybe this is not the forum, but like, because you said this is your last meeting for the year, so I wonder if there's still, because I know many people, I have concerns about specific police people, other people have concerns and specific reports, so when is the time, and again, maybe not right now, it doesn't feel very, when is the time to?
You can send me an email.
Okay.
You can set up a time to meet with me as well, if you want to talk about something in specific. And you can, step up to me and share it with me afterwards or right now, whatever feels comfortable to you. My email is brownk@evergreen.edu.
I had two questions of backtracking a few topics. Like, I was wondering if there was a specific instance that caused police to get this bill to even be proposed for police to be armed on campus, and I was wondering if there's ever been an instance where the police have ever had to use their guns.
That's a good question. I don't think that there's been a cause to use the gun, but I think there may have been more.
I'm not trying to hear you, man. It's making a lot of people in the semi-council around. I'm not trying to hear you.
Yeah, well, let me say, as a vet, then you can handle it. So, I was just gonna make I was just gonna answer the question.
Hold up! Step down.
All good.
Okay? I am old, and I can't understand what's happening as many people are talking. This is a very important meeting, and we are taking note of your suggestions. We are very clear about our role, and we are going to take those to the chief or to the appropriate officer I'm not talking about a policeman, or appropriate administrator, to deal with them, to try to get some of these issues, if not all of these issues, resolved as best we can. So I need to hear just one person. So you finish, and when you finish, then whoever over here wants to speak, speaks. That's all I'm saying. Let's keep it clear, because this is business. This is not, getting rid of your anxiety. This is about the real deal, okay? We are serious.
I got something to say.
Her question was answered, didn't it?
I asked whether there was a specific instance that caused police to be armed on campus, like why that bill was even proposed in the first place, and if there ever has been an instance where police have used their guns that would even slightly justify getting rifles on campus.
I would think that would be one of those public records. And so I can't speak to the history. I don't know. And I don't want to speak to something I don't know about. But I would imagine that it would be public record. It would not be something that wouldn't be out there.
If I may, the way I see it, the police are requesting rifles and the 5 detainment rooms as retaliatory actions against student dissent on campus that have been kind of in the rise in the last couple of years, and especially this year. And also, we saw this a couple of years ago after there was a action where students flipped a police car, I believe in 2009. The college then increased militarization on campus and also increased regulating students and put in policies that would allow the administration to criminalize dissent on campus, and that's what we're seeing again in response to everything that's been happening over the past year.
My question.
Wait a second, I think there's some other people that want to talk.
Two things. First, something that I noticed that is definitely a tactic. Evergreen almost never has representation of black people or black women, but now is the time when we're talking about the police and its activation against black bodies. Now is the time that they choose to scapegoat black women. So I thank both of you for being here in this capacity, because I feel like you are here as a political ploy to make so that you can be the faces of it. So my second thing is, how many plainclothes police officers are in here right now? Do we know? If this is about the communication between students and the police don't even feel like they can be here, they will never hear what we have to say. Because they're not here to connect with the students right now. We're all here. And if this is a meeting that's being coordinated on our behalf to speak with the police so that our ideas can be addressed, there's no reason that, where are they?
They're not supposed to be here.
They're not allowed to be
Why
here.
not?
The police review board we don't have police on our board or with it. We report to the police and we report to you. We are in between. And so they don't have any say here. We could invite them here, but our board meeting hadn't planned to invite them to this meeting. When we invite them, it is to give them feedback from the community.
This is a time where we've been having a lot of feedback.
Yes.
I don't feel like they've been listening.
Oh, you have your hand up. And then I would like to respond to your statement. Yes. I want to respond to, I agree with you to a great extent. When I was sitting here and I looked around, I'm like, I've never been with this many black people giving the presentation before. I did. I thought that. I mean, I'm going to be real with you. But let me tell you, if I even think that they're using me as a ploy, then I know what my next move is. Okay? You don't use me. Okay? You use whoever. And any student who has ever been with me okay? Because I will go with them when they have specific needs that are not being addressed. You don't understand. I've had to deal with this for a long time. I grew up in the segregated South, okay? Let's be real. I know what racism is. See, I was brought up. It's in my very being. The insults, the hurt, the watching my mother, my father treated like children. I know what racism is, and I know what it's done to me. My people came up telling me, you're as good as anybody else. And I took that to heart because I do believe that I'm as good as anybody else. And you're not. And you're not going to use me. Okay, I want you to know that. I want you to have that confidence in me. Okay? Now, I'm not talking for nobody else. I'm only talking about myself. And yours, I agree with you. I thought about that as I'm sitting there. Well, where are the white people? Where are they who come to the meetings? They're not here. But I specifically wanted to come because I've been out, my students and I've been talking about this all week in class before everybody said you didn't have to turn in your homework. Okay? So I know what I'm doing, honey. My sister integrated a college by herself, and did she ever catch hell? And at all these institutions, you got to know, we all feel it. It's a Baldwin. James Baldwin said, racism is a part of the American fabric of life. It ain't going nowhere. So if you're waiting for it to go, it ain't going. It's a constant struggle. The struggle continues. La lucha continua. It continues. And it's going to be like that until I die. I'm very sure of that. Because I believe Baldwin. I know he had the insight to see through that. You got to just understand that some of us really believe that we are doing our best to bridge whatever is going on here, all of these issues. And it's more than just the police, okay? Yeah. We know we're bridging all of that. And we're glad to be here to serve our people and all of you, quite frankly. Because it does nothing for white people to harbor racism and to be a part of racist acts at an institution of higher learning. Okay? We are breaking that. And I applaud all of you for standing up. It takes a lot. I went to the University of Michigan, but see, we closed down the University of Michigan for 2 weeks. And these are very wealthy people going to school and doing very well and all of that. But they have to have people serving them. So we were involved in some union activity as well up in Detroit at the time, University of Michigan and on. So the union member says, we will not get involved, but we will not cross the picket lines. So you can't get to the cafeteria. You can't get to the health services. You can't get to all the services that you need. So the only thing that the president could do was shut down the college until there were resolutions reached. And we didn't get everything we asked for, but we got a lot. Because at that time, every black person on the University of Michigan campus knew each other. It didn't matter if you were in medicine or in art. It didn't matter. You all knew each other. So you need to know that I understand what you're doing. And I think you all have, I'll be honest with you, I am very impressed with all of you. Because all this other stuff I've been hearing, because I wasn't there. See, if I don't know the facts, I just don't know the facts, and I can't speak to it. But I know the fact that you were all in this room today, and you were very honorable and orderly and respectful. I can say that to you now. So anything negative coming out of here today is a lie. It's an absolute lie. And people raising their hands and wanting to speak had an opportunity to speak. That's important. That's a First Amendment right. You have your right to say whatever's on your mind. okay? So I appreciate you. I really do. Because otherwise I wouldn't have got up here and said this, okay? All
I want to ditto what Dr. Young had to say, but I also want to let you all know that I asked to be the chair of this committee. I wanted to do this job because I am aware of how police in our communities impact our community. I am aware personally how police impact our communities, and I'm aware just sort of socially, logically, culturally, all of that. But I have brothers who are harassed by the police. And so when I saw this position open, I said, I want to do that because I wanted to represent people of color. I wanted to make sure our voices were heard, whether you showed up for the board or not. And so I don't feel like I'm being used. I hope that if I'm being used, it's for you all. Okay? And I agree with Artie. I'm loving this meeting. I am loving it. So.
I'm glad we're all here right now, but there is a point of contention. There's someone in this room who is documenting us, who has been Islamophobic, and I think it's pretty obvious who it is, and I would like that person to please stop documenting us and to delete those photos. You're not live streaming, bro. And as a Muslim man, that's fine.
I was just taking some videos.
For what?
Same reason she is.
I'd like to know why. As a Muslim man, I'm afraid to be in this room with you right now.
This is very good.
We have reports that he's not taking videos and that he's taking photos of individual students who are speaking. So this is an opportunity for community accountability. And so, listen up. This is an opportunity for community policing. Like, why are we in this room? Okay. So I want the people next to him to watch him delete every photo that he's taken of this space, and that's all.
Well, I would actually like to see them as well. And just for the purposes of transparency, there is somebody live streaming. Like, it's possible to document stuff, but if it'll be very obvious if you're targeting specific people from the things that we see. So, for the sake of transparency, show everybody what you got. Yeah. And tell everybody why you got it.
Could you delete the videos?
So I'll delete my videos if she deletes her live stream.
It's already going on.
My live stream is public. Everyone can see it's publicized.
Because people feel uncomfortable with you and your comments.
People who haven't felt comfortable coming forward have mentioned these things, and so we're trying to create an accountability process.
Are you going to hold yourself accountable? Are you going to delete those videos?
No, I'm just going to leave with the video. What was that?
Hold on, can you show everybody the videos?
Show us the video.
I'll show Artie the video. How about that?
I want to see it.
Can somebody stand next to Artie and also watch the video?
Yeah.
Can there at least be two people?
Can I ask a question? Why can't he talk?
Thank you.
Why can't he talk?
You said
Go
you were
for
a
it.
veteran, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speak up.
So why can't I record the live
Oh, that's a good one. That's cute.
Listen,
Can we all hear you?
Okay, the veterans.
Many murderers. And I can say that as a veteran. So fuck that
Well, I'm
shit.
glad you speak for me.
I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for myself.
Can y'all scoot in?
Video.
The veterans can watch the live stream.
Yeah, I know. No, someone asked me to film it for people on the campus who are not able to attend, so everyone can see it. It's publicly shared. And I'm not Oh, yeah.
It's not locked when your phone is that
Yeah, they're gonna see none of you taking this live stream.
Jasmine Wong. But it's public.
And not our instrument. Everyone has a
Our concern is that you could also the videos because they're not live.
Oh, yeah, because they're not live.
And that might want to show Jake.
Let's think like creative solutions to bring the community together too.
Because Artie will handle him. Artie has 60 years of it.
So the purpose of white supremacy is to separate people and to create a lot of tension. So that all the tension is not it. So
Yeah, so let's just talk about something creative.
get to know the person next to you. Say hi. Give a hug to a random person.
Y'all don't give him any more attention than he's already demanding. This space was created for y'all to have a dialogue, and giving him all this attention at this point isn't productive.
Yeah, I think.
No, he didn't.
Somebody else has taken on the labor of talking to him.
He's gone.
I was asked to speak up on this, and the reports are that from like many people who have come up to me that this person has a history of like Islamophobic comments, and that people were very uncomfortable with like his documentation of people in this room by like taking photos and videos of like people, like individuals up close.
Oh, and I didn't mention, he did mouth something at me. He was mouthing things at me. That was the point where I had to say something.
So the purpose of coming forward was to like engage in an act of community policing where we can all like hold someone accountable to something. That what you just saw was like a complete unwillingness to be accountable. All the request from the people who were made uncomfortable was that he delete the photos and videos, and it's not a damning sentence. It's like the least he can do.
Yeah.
Also, this is a two-party consent to report state, so someone says no.
So, also notice how when the people try to hold someone accountable, they immediately go to like an authority to like basically usurp the people that they've hurt or they've made uncomfortable. These are the dynamics that we have to learn how to deal with in like a process of protecting our own communities, and like that. This is the real work of being here. So I want to thank y'all for having tolerance about that. And if you feel uncomfortable or like you haven't had your voice heard about that experience, you can come and talk to me outside of this.
Thank you.
Y'all asked if there's a cop in the room. There is not, but there's a wife. So you want change, tell me. I'll tell him tonight in about an hour and a half. He goes to work tonight. What do you want him to do different? How do you want him to do his job different? How should he talk to you different?
May we ask who you want to tell us?
I go here starting this summer, and I could not be more proud to go here, and I could not be more proud to be in white.
So he's not a cop on campus?
No, he's a Tacoma State Police, Tacoma police officer. Has been for 10 years. I'll tell you his name if you'd like.
We're talking like specific, yeah, that's what.
I'm not embarrassed, and I'm not ashamed of him. I'm proud of what he does. And I'd love to tell him how to do his job better. He would love to know how to do his job better. And I believe wholeheartedly, sorry? It is a job. He protects and serves. He shows up and he takes a child out of the most horrendous conditions. He's come home and bawled to me after seeing a child being beaten by their parents. So tell me how you want him to talk to y'all different. What would make you feel safer? Because I hear that a lot, that I don't feel safe around the police. So how should he talk to you to make you feel safer? Because I would love to accommodate those needs for you.
We appreciate your offer of help. This forum is about the voices, and we are using a means by which this committee, this board, can communicate those ideas to the chief and to her officers. And we want to stay within the structure. And when we start going off in different directions, and I appreciate what you're saying, but right now what I would like to hear is what all of you students, and you should take my government class this summer. All of you students want us to carry with us so that we can take this to the chief and begin to address these issues one by one by one. But to go off and diverge into individual kind of, help, I appreciate your offer of help, I really do. But it takes us, it diverts us from the course that we are trying to structure here so we can begin to remedy these problems. We really have a goal of remedying these problems. And if we could just continue with the questions or responses that you were offering earlier, I think that's where we should go, because it is now 4:25, and we are losing people by the minute. And so let us resume our conversation. Yes.
So I think, one main issue is that we're trying to give feedback about police, but most people want community police.
Right.
I think I would raise your hand. Most people in the room, I don't want police on campus. I would like to see community police. So it's one thing to give feedback about police, and it's another thing to say what would we really like, which is to see police off campus. Because when police come, someone is going to get shot one day on this campus, and no one wants to see that. The days we're counting. This is too dangerous.
I feel like that the board has heard that pretty loudly, pretty clearly. I want to challenge you all, though, to know that the board is just as likely to have a group of students come in and say the opposite. And so I want you all to think about that. And I really love your idea of forming, what was it called, a student collective to research alternative options. I think that's brilliant, because there are students who want to know that they could call the police for something, whether it's just to unlock their car, right, or to unlock their room door. And I'm sure that as you all think about that, you can address the issues and the reasons that people might want someone here. So you can come up with a plan that will really take care of the whole community. So I would just challenge you to keep that in mind. And one of the things that I am reminded about in terms of being at a college is being at a college is often being uncomfortable, right? Because we're often challenged to think about things in different ways, think about things that had not occurred to us before, and that maybe we didn't agree with when we heard it initially, and maybe we change our mind, maybe we don't, right? And so keep that in mind as we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about what we were talking about in reference to building community and holding each other accountable and stuff like that. I mean, it's really interesting that said individual didn't want to cooperate at all. But I feel like if we're talking about making changes to the police force, because I don't see the police force disappearing from Evergreen's campus anytime soon. You know, so until then, we will have to work with the standards and with the people that we have here to ensure. You know, as a black man, you know, I'm afraid to call the cops, but I'm not going to say, yeah, let's kick them totally off right now, because say we do that right now, and we noticed the cops running around the last 2 days and that swastika popped up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like a big part of community policing starts before it even gets to the police. You know, and white students. You know, it comes with you guys realizing that, you know, like you said, in a learning environment, you're going to be uncomfortable, you know, and you don't know what racism feels like. You know, therefore, you're not going to understand when we're angry, you know, but our anger is valid, and I validate anybody who is angry because of any circumstance that they are put in. You know, I validate that, as we all should. You know, so it comes with part of that, treat the people who come on campus equitably, you know what I mean? Don't be scared of us when you see us at night and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It comes from that, because ultimately it is students calling the police on us, you know? And another big part of that is I think we should have some sort of student taught culturally awareness classes, you know, have black and brown students be the ones. I validate if anybody's tired of doing this work, you know, because racism is tiring. This stuff is tiring, you know. It's hard for me to wake up every day, you know, but I realize that if we want to progress our people, you know, this is to the black men. We need to step up, you know, and as men of color, we need to step up and be able to help educate these cops because they're not going away anytime soon. You know what I mean? And another big thing is I feel like I think it's very valid to have them not have guns. Because, you know, guns don't kill people. People kill people with that gun. You know, so that's one, I think that's a reasonable thing that we could get George to do this year, right now, because, you know, he's going to keep trying to push it back, and, you know, ignore what's going on right in front of us, you know. So I think having this police board, you know, I'm in Artie's class. You know, I got mad respect for Artie, and I think it's amazing that we have this opportunity to have such an amazing individual here to help us combat the police, you know, because we got to have a buffer, you know what I mean? We got to have a buffer between them because I'm not trying to get murked, you know?
I agree with that, and I think that community policing, starting that and showing that we can do that we can hold each other accountable, that we can do it effectively and not have to rely on the police, is one of the steps we can take to get police off campus, to persuade them that we don't need them here.
What's your definition of behavior by white students who needs policing? Do you think cultural appropriation? That's a portion of racism, white supremacy. You're going to police these white students here who walk around with dreadlocks and sheepies?
I think we should.
You know, or we can wait till it's something like that, because you see, if we had community police, if white students were already, you know, policing each other, and cisgender students were already policing each other, it probably wouldn't have built up to this point to where we have a whole issue with the cop and have a whole issue with the things that are going on campus, you know? So, it comes from internally, you know? So when you see a white person doing something appropriative, racist, understand these things are not done in a vacuum. They all contribute to the issues of police brutality and the marginalization of black and brown people.
My biggest thing is we talked about things that forming those groups, mostly hopefully by students, to do things like when we talk about mental health care, when we talk about someone needs an EMT for certain medical emergencies. And you know, I'm a transfer student at Evergreen, and I've seen schools where there's something called Walk Safe, where if you don't feel safe walking home at night, if you're a survivor or something like that, you can call someone, and there's going to be a pair of people, one of which is guaranteed to be a non-male identifying person to help walk you back to your car or your home. I've seen things where there are student-trained EMTs who can be there, who can be at events, who can be at the student-run concerts run by the Green Org and be there for that person. I've been at a boarding school in high school where they had the students associated for greater empathy, where if you didn't necessarily feel comfortable going to a shrink, going to your teacher, but you knew a student was going to have some mental health care training, you could do that. You could go to them. And we can do that. I'm running for the GSU, and I want to see that. I want to see that on the ballot. But my biggest concern is we're talking about this. We're having this amazing meeting where people are sharing. We have this person who has this incredible life experience who can share and who can help channel us. But one of the questions, if you notice on the ballot for that legislative interest, was, do you want Evergreen to be annexed to the city of Olympia? I don't want people to think about the thought that we're having this great organization. We have this board set up to be able to review, be that buffer, and be that link. But if we get annexed to the city of Olympia, I'm pretty sure a lot of that stuff would switch over to OPD. And that would be a whole other mess of things that has been horribly wrong that would then be on our campus. And I'm more inclined, as a gay man, as a survivor of sexual assault, to say that we do need to work and we need to reform. Because before we can have them gone, they're still going to be here for a good long time.
Alright, I just want to say a couple things to everybody. I'm not addressing the board. I think I would like to not be filmed. Thank you. I would encourage us to maybe shift our thinking and language away from policing each other to maybe just think about other ways that we can have accountability. I don't want to think about it as policing. I don't want everybody to be a cop now. Oh my God. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is I don't want this to be a giant act of recuperation where there's all this incredible energy that we've seen in the past week or so. People are doing amazing things, putting up barricades in the library. Oh my God. I don't want all this energy to get recuperated into paperwork and filing away at the board. And so remember what it felt like to do these things that feel empowering and go with wherever that takes you. Don't just get stuck into bureaucracy, because the things we want are impossible and we're not going to get them. So do what makes you feel good in the moment, I think.
A lot of departments have something called an Explorer program, and it's kind of they're usually teenage kids, but it could work here, where they have they learn skills, but they do the police work that kind of gets lost in the process. They interact with people, they interact with the community a lot during events. So maybe instead of having such a large presence and having the armed police officers deal with every single situation that happens on campus, have a student explorer program where we show up if there's an argument or there's a shoplifting at the store. I mean, that doesn't need a police officer to come every time. A student can come and take the report and deal with it, and go back and work with the officers, so they don't need to be coming out all the time. A student can unlock a car, unlock a building for somebody that works and makes people feel more comfortable, but then we still have armed police officers for when we need them. That we're not waiting for Olympia police or state police to show up 15, 20 minutes later, that they're there when we need them, but they're not always in our faces all the time. If we had an Explorer program that did the little jobs that need to be done every day, we don't need them to come all the time, and then people feel more comfortable, and it seems like it would solve the problem. The explorers could escort you to your car if need be, whatever needs to be done, but then when if a violent crime happens, they're there to help us. They're there to protect us, and they're still on campus, so we're not unprotected.
And when you say us, it means white people.
I mean, us as the student body, the entire campus. Thank you. You have your hands up, and then the gentleman and the teachers with the town, and then the gentleman.
I'm wondering if you have a
like a timeline you present when you go to the board with these ideas that are coming from us? Do you present them with a timeline? Do they give you a timeline if it's like considered at all? Or what does that look like?
It appears there is no timeline. That was one of the things that I said we need to add.
Okay.
To this status responsibility was a timeline. No, there is none. Sir, you did that, and then, yes.
I was going to ask that question.
Oh, okay.
I guess also what I'm going off by as well is that the only problem is that people of color are just not feeling safe with these officers at this Evergreen. I mean, don't get me wrong. Maybe we should have police here, but why do we need 9? I'm sorry, but if you're going to call police because you're locked out of your dorm, there should be other resources for those students who could probably get a job here to do that kind of stuff. Correct? This problem is that, yeah, you can call the police because, I'm sorry, but you're white and you feel safe. But if a person of color calls the police, can I see some ID? Can I see your student ID? Do you have the key here? Can I ask somebody if this is really your house? That's the only problem that we're having. And I'm sorry, but if we're calling the police for these kind of incidents, that's leading a lot of like police. I guess if you do a yearly kind of thing, if you're doing a yearly kind of thing, how many police did it get called? Probably like 150 times. But out of those 150 times, how many were really reporting accidents, not just lockouts? That's the only problem. So maybe if we can decrease our police officers and not arm them for no reason and hire these students, then maybe we can feel a little bit safer.
Along with the cultural training with them, less cops, more cultural training with less weapons. You know, I feel like that would be a very plausible solution that we could get done by the end of the year. You know, if George really wants to show, you know, he cares about his brown folks. You know, because I feel like that's a really big, I feel like that's a really big thing.
We got somebody back in the back who hasn't had said anything.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to something that Adam was talking about with the rifles, because I think that really it talks about the mentality of our police a lot. There's a quote that I heard recently that was, the only tool that you have is a hammer. You start to look at all your problems as nails. And to me it seems like the police already had plenty of hammers, but now they're looking for jackhammers. And that terrifies me, because there's no reason for it. There's no reason for them to need these rifles. There's no justification for it. And I want Stacey Brown to say that she's not going to pursue them. That would make me feel safer.
Rad services is also something that the school is trying to get rid of, and a lot of the students that work for Rad services were talking about going on strike to support, but they didn't feel like they could, and they didn't feel they were in a position here to do that because they knew that if they even one step out of line, the school would just get rid of them.
What's RAD?
Rad services.
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
Now that I must say, I will have to say, I mean, I am in student affairs, and that I have never heard a word uttered that Rad Services is going to be. I don't know how we would survive. I mean, it would just be an outrage. I have not heard that.
Okay.
I have I cannot. The idea is preposterous. We're building a new residence hall.
Okay.
The goal is to grow Rad Services.
Okay.
So I don't want that to, you know, we've got enough things that are leaving.
Yes.
Okay, Justin, a little bit of information about that. Yeah, I don't know of any plans for Red Services to go away, but the RAs do have a lot of these types of responsibilities that we're talking about, and currently are proposing a list of demands to our supervisors.
This list of demands was turned in yesterday.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to do a lot of the changes that people have been talking about for campus-wide within RAD. So we don't want police to work with us either. We want people trained for mental health responses as well. And we don't want them to be with us. Like, we don't want them to be associated with us anymore. We don't feel comfortable walking around with them either. We have heard the terrible things, the misogynist things that they say for years. And it's only escalated this year. Like, they're more comfortable talking about these things. And they think that it's okay to talk to us like that, too. And so we're actually waiting for a response from our supervisors to see if they're going to actually negotiate with us. And then we have plans to stop working if they don't respond to us.
My question is actually kind of dovetails really well with that, which is what level of accountability does any level of this process with any of the administration have to the student body? We have GSU, and I mean, you're just saying that there's a measure to have an advisory vote so that we can actually be involved in this and at least expressing our opinion, but not actually having, vote, but just expressing our opinion. What level of accountability with things like GSU is there now for changing these issues if the student body collectively goes to their representation and says, hey, this isn't okay, we want this changed? Does that even go anywhere? Does that even matter?
I think that the GSU is actually only as powerful as you all. And so if you have a strong GSU, if you have a GSU in which most students are really actively involved and have a strong voice, all of us work for you, right? And so if you have a GSU that is strong and has a united voice and is able to put things forth, then we are likely to listen. And then, I will say that sometimes, as students and even as administrators, we put forth things that we want to happen, and then there are various reasons that are beyond us that they can't, right? But I will say the stronger you all are as a GSU, the more likely you are to get your needs met. Go ahead, just speak.
Do you have, so we didn't know about this board, and a lot of people don't know about the services that are on campus. And I personally have gone to multiple offices asking what to do in certain situations, and nobody knows, right? What going forward do you have, tools do you have to let us know what you're doing with all of this time that we're spending here and all of these things that we're talking about? Do you have a way to communicate with us what is happening from now on? Or going forward with our complaints?
We are going to go through the process of speaking with the various people that we need to speak to about these complaints. And then, if there's not already, since this is our first time responding, this is a new board, we're not as aware of what there is in terms of a vehicle for communication back, but there will be a vehicle of whether we put up something on the website, whether we send something out on Greener Commons, something we will definitely be responding. I will tell you though that we meet monthly, and our goal, given this, is my goal as the chair is to have us meet again before the year is over, so that we can give some sort of response.
Yeah. Yes. You have your hand up? Yes.
Here to serve us and here to work for us. Is it possible that students could have a say in who new hires are, or at least have the ability to turn down?
Yeah,
based
I
off
would
of
think
series?
so. And usually for all, I don't know, for most of our search committees, there are students on there. So, yeah, I can't recommend why not. We can put that down. what Arnie and I were just discussing is, our goal is to, before the year ends, to communicate where we are in the process. This committee is continuing. I will be chair for the next academic year as well. And so anything that we do not finish this year, we will keep going with. I can't say that we'll have everything done in 2 weeks. That's not going to happen. But I can say we'll get what we can get done, and then from there, we'll keep on working. And in September, hopefully send out something else that says, here's other things that we've done, and, you know, to continue that communication. I'll also say, our police department, when you said there are 9 people, that is small. There is no reason that you all shouldn't personally know each and every one of them. There are more of you than them. And to be able to walk in and give feedback about what you want them to do while they are here. So as you all are talking about, well, until they're gone, there's no reason that we can't give feedback about what we want them to look like while they're here. And it's easy to make a culture shift in 9 people, not so much in the whole entire college.
I'm not saying let's take out all 9 cops, because, I mean, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, could we get rid of those cops who have explicit and implicit biases?
Did you guys from RAD make a report about the cops making sexist comments towards you? You didn't report it, huh? So they didn't want you to report it?
You were asked by who?
Your boss don't want you to report by police force on campus. All with RAD, you know, in specific, you know how you guys say you have all these resources, but like, I mean, nobody knew about them, you know? I feel like that's part of RAD's failure to students of color in making us feel comfortable interacting with you. So we can't interact with you or the cops because, you know, we see you as one entity, you know, because like think about the interactional style that RAD has with black and brown students, you know, and like the lack of diversity, you know, like we've had, like last year there was a black RA who was fired because of speaking their mind, you know, and that's how RAD handles issues of sexism and racism. They quiet people about sexism. They fire people over racism. So we need to also talk about how we're going to fix these institutions on campus so they are more accessible for people of color.
You may be repeating yourself, but I know that we are asking for our professors to be trained and, well, culturally competent, but beyond that, to take yearly and take courses and seminars. But what issues or what requirements do we have for the cops that we hire, and how often do they have to go through not only cultural competence but active, like retraining of the brain, or like actively breaking down that, because it. Yeah, I just want to know if that's in place, and if that isn't in place, I would like to put that forward as a request that they have to go through that training before they get guns on our campus.
Training that's around
cultural competency and anti-racism training, and also what is it? De-escalation. Yeah, like that, and that they're actually trained in that. Not like, yes, I took a course, but like, no, I haven't.
Continuing education.
Yeah, that's like something they can do.
I know that they do get training in a lot of those issues. I'm not specific about whether cultural competence, but I definitely know for de-escalation. And they have I mean, these are actually some of the questions that would be good conversations to have with Stacy. And you've asked the question, I'm writing it down, and we'll try to put out a report of things that we have learned from those questions.
Okay, we have her hand here, and then your hand. Okay. Right, I'm sorry, I don't know. Yes.
Oh, so I know that there are lists they put students on who are activists, who are dissenters publicly. If we're going into the police office and saying, we'd like you to make these changes face to face, how are we going to know what list we're on? You know, how do we know what the effects are of that?
I don't know. I have one more thing. You know, I think it's interesting because, like, at Evergreen, I see a lot of white people trying to act like they're marginalized by the cops just as much as black and brown men. You know, because as a white person in this country, the system is built for you. So therefore, you can go communicate with the cops. That's the other thing I don't get about, like, a lot of these white groups that go out and break stuff. They have masks over their faces and because they don't want to be on white nationalist websites. I was born on that website, I guess. You know, so we have to understand, as a white person, you should be able to use your privilege to interact with the police in a way we may not be able to. I mean, because I'm willing to go. I'm willing as a black and brown man to go meet the police so that next time I get locked out of my car and get shot in the back of the head. I'm willing to go interact with them. And you as a white student shouldn't fear that at all.
Right. I want to ask for transparency for everyone in the room, not for protecting myself. Sorry.
So I was just curious, is there a way to get some of or all of the campus police in a forum like this for us to talk to them about our concerns or about the concerns of people of color and tell them how it makes us feel or people of color feel when they have guns on their bodies and those kind of things where we could actually have a discourse with the police officers. Like you said, there are only 9 of them, and it would be beneficial to speak to them directly.
And have them attend unarmed and not.
Absolutely.
Can they come out of uniform?
Putting it down.
Okay, it's 5 to 5. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel very good about this conversation because they have been taking notes, and we are very serious about taking the next step. Sometimes things move very, very slowly in institutions, and Evergreen is no exception to that. But we can let you know what we've done with respect to certain issues and keep the communication flowing to you between us, between the committee, the board, and you, okay? So I don't know, do you have other concerns? I know I'm not the chair, but I'm about to go pick up my granddaughter. Okay, so I just want you to know I'm not just leaving because I didn't know. No, I have purpose in leaving. So I don't know if we're ending or if you're staying or what, but.
I mean, since Artie's leaving, I think, you know, in the tradition of like West Africa and, you know, saying, Kofi, we should do give backs, you know, like to honor our elders in our community to come, you know, support us in our fight against the administration. So does anybody have any give backs for Artie? Like give back means like, I mean, like a song, a poem, you know, like just saying thank you, something, you know, a statement.
We are getting that time. And like Artie, I also have a kid here home too. So, what are some last?
I'm going off of what she said, but
Is there a way where they can, instead of doing annually reports on these officers of like their background, is there a way we can reduce that to like 6 months? Because if I get a job, they have a 30-day, 60-day,
Yeah.
90-day kind of thing. Why can't we do this at this school?
Like evaluations for us.
Yep.
Yeah. We don't give the cops evaluations.
Can I just say, like I've heard like demands can I not be filmed as well, please?
Yeah.
Thanks. To not have police on campus and just it would be great if those didn't get watered down as well by other demands, being that it's likely that anything we ask for, the board is going to look for a compromise in. So I feel that it's strong if we come to them with our strongest demands or our most significant changes implemented demands, and it's likely we'll get some of the less big changes awarded from that. Just also in other endeavors where we're delivering demands, that's important to remember that they're going to try and compromise. So if we say something that's above what the bare minimum is, we're more likely to get what that bare minimum is.
The class my husband just recently got on mental illness was 4 hours. Can our campus police be better trained than that and have more, be given better knowledge of what mental illness is, what they're looking at, the different disorders, the different symptoms, and the different ways that they can deal with the situations that they're presented with, longer than a fly by the seat of our pants 4-hour class? Can it be more in depth? Can we give them better tools to deal with this situation?
I just wanted to request that if it's in the interest of the group before we end the meeting, if you could read through your notes for us for transparency. If that's wanted. If before we end the meeting, if we could hear the chair's notes for transparency to make sure that we have been.
People want me to.
I mean, if you're gonna end now.
Yeah, let's
be ready.
Oh, no, we should piggyback on Nick. Nick, they already get evaluated. We should just be able to see those.
Like do I give the evaluations for the police each
They
quarter?
already have that, so we should just be able to see it.
They have that?
Yeah, they can
Yeah,
evaluate.
we should be able to see it. It should
Yeah.
be public then.
Yeah.
Like make the stuff in reference to their behavior public, because stuff in reference to our behavior is public.
But we should also be evaluating them like we do faculty.
Yeah.
They work for us.
There is a comment back there. Can I also ask, like, who else is on the board and, like, if there's anyone who's listening today?
Yes, so Lynn Landrum is a faculty who's on the board, who's out of state today. Nigel Jett is also on the board. He's at jury duty. We have another student on the board who's sick. I think there's, our board is new, I haven't learned everyone. People are joining, so people are still joining the board. The board is made up of, I think that's everybody, let me see. So it's 3 students, 2 of which are here, 2 faculty, 1 of which is here, 3 staff members, 2 of which are here, and let me see, Nikki McCoy. No, you took Nikki's place. Good gosh. There's someone else, and I'm sorry.
that's who's on the board. And then, in terms of, the Vice President of Student Affairs and the Director of Police Services are not members of the board, but they are who we, give information to. So they're called, ex officio, not non-members.
Maybe I just didn't hear very well, so the notes, did you say you could put them online or something like that?
That was my plan. I was gonna write them up and.
I figured that. I can look at our web team, so we can go like a blog or like someplace where we can.
Okay, so.
So if we meet again in 2 weeks, I can have like a URL or something where we'll be able to post stuff.
Just to avoid it, if you just edited in any way, can we still hear them?
Sure.
I wanted to ask if you guys wanted to meet, you guys want to start meeting on a weekly basis until the end of the year? To make a little bit quicker progress, but if not, I totally respect that.
I don't know that we could get that many people together that frequently, just with, Artie's teaching schedule, Glenn's, all of those things. So we will do our best. We will meet as frequently as we can. Now, in terms of reading the notes, this is my chicken scratch, and so they're not complete sentences. I tend to be one of those write a few words and then fill it out later kind of note takers. So I know that the meeting started off with talk about, making sure there was no violence on campus. They talked about this is about institutional change, disarming the police, no police on campus. We want that we want our institution to live up to promises. That the goal isn't to shut down a college. There was talk about community love. There was talk about gathering weekly and monthly, maybe having more of these forums. That is, I think, what we were speaking of. Someone suggested we need to speak to people when we're out, that you all wanted to be seen. Want Evergreen to be a strong community, no cops in the community, don't want cops to have guns and weapons. Police surveillance is an issue. Need to add the stipulation about time regarding when our board should respond to things. Post something on Police Services Board on the window so that it's there, so that so that it's there at all times. Sort of, you wanted what is it called? Procedures, like how you make a complaint should be available, relatively available. You wanted a way to hold police accountable without going to courts. There was talk about the student collective to research options for policing alternatives to police. A survey of when police were called and what kind of issues that they were dealing with, so that you all would have some idea of what kind of things you might need to manage if you're moving more to community policing. There was mention of mental health funding for a psychiatrist. There was talk about the advisory board that GSU could do. There was a mention that you didn't like the food bank at police services. Saying if there's someone else who can be available when people are having crisis. Fear that the police won't defend against white supremacist groups. There's a question of the police requesting rifles. Most want community policing to see police off campus. Students, there was a suggestion that maybe students should be teaching cultural awareness and this was actually one thing I was going to come over to you and ask if that's what you meant. But think about having black men do some teaching with police. I felt like that's kind of what I was hearing from you.
Well, no, I'd say black men in the community of color, because a lot of times the energy and the emotional energy and psychological energy is put out by the black women and femmes. I think it's time as black men, step up, help our people, help our community.
There was talk of a Walk Safe program, so something to look into. An Explorer program, that would be something to look into, where students show up and deal with lower level things. More cultural training with less weapons. You want Stacy to say that she's not gonna pursue rifles. There's that sentence. There was note that RAs have sent a list of demands that include that they don't want police services monitor, I guess, doing hall patrolling, I forget them. There's a report that police services, that some of the police who are doing some of that walking around are making misogynist comments, and that has not been reported to any, to higher ups, except for maybe your bosses.
We're told not to.
Right, we're told not to report. Then we talked about making sure students were on search committees for officers if we're having them. And then I wrote, bosses don't want RAs to report misogynist behavior with police. So that was there. Like I said, little bullet. There's a question of what kind of training do the police actually get. A question of if we can have a forum with police force with them unarmed and off duty. Another, more frequent evaluations of police, with students perhaps providing individual evaluations of police, and the idea that they should be public like faculty. And then also the idea that forms to evaluate should just be available whenever you want. And better training regarding mental illness, it should be longer than 4 hours. So, did I cover? Or?